Everyday Superpower, where we talk body language, relationships, game, everything in between, okay? Hugs, embrace, cuddles. What do they mean? What do they symbolize? Is the way she hugs me significant? Does it make sense that she's attracted to me through how she hugs me? A few talking points. We might go on a few tangents, but we're going to live and learn, right? So, you know someone, you give her a hug. Okay, I'm going to say you actioned it, or it was what you may have perceived as a mutual agreement to have a hug, like when you have departed from somewhere or when you've initially met her or something. And you're wondering whether it signifies attraction, repulsion, anything in between. So, pay attention to I won't go into the spiritual, into the theoretic, but we will, not until later in the video. We're going to start off by the literal, okay? Where are her hips in correlation with yours? So, one easy telltale sign to see how sexually open and interested and engaged two people are whilst they hug is to look at their hips. Okay? When a hug is engaged, two become one, symbolic of procreation, symbolic of intercourse. It is two bodies joining to make one, such as what happens in the bedroom. And if anything, in the bedroom, prior if not during the act, embrace does take place, right? Within reason. You know where I'm coming from. So, where are the hips? Okay? You will find that people who are more interested in each other on a sexual level will have their hips closer and closer and closer. It's proxemics. As the genitalia gets closer and closer. Now, with that being said, pay attention to how direct they both are with one another. So clearly there's going to be full frontal connection given that they are fully frontal each other. Intimate. Without any outside world, it's just you and me. To be completely opposite another person is to be completely mirror, to be completely direct. To be yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine. Now, speaking of the feminine and the masculine, pay attention to how she holds you. Does she actively hold on to you with weakness? Does she emphasize the feminine difference between you as you emphasize your masculine strength whilst you have the point? Okay? Not crushing her to death, but it's like a handshake. Just more intimate. So, as opposed to crushing her to death, you hold her firmly. And in reaction to that, does she hold you, but not slack, but at ease and with an air of girly weakness? Does she submit? It's the dominant and the masculine as you both engage. Does she pat you on the back? Now, this will happen in friendships, this will happen in family relations, and so on and so forth. Does she pat you on the back? Because subconsciously you don't pat her on the back if you're enjoying the experience you're receiving. Because that pat is symbolic of tapping out. So imagine two wrestlers and the other submits the other taps out and they break it up, right? That pat is symbolic of saying, here I am clearly breaking connection with you. Connect, break, connect, break, connect, break. Let me go. I'm tapping out. Pay attention to that. We've all experienced that unless you're a touchless virgin. And if that's the case, Welcome to Everyday Superpower. We will change that. You're not the only one. Don't you worry. So, when you get tapped out, allow that to be symbolic. And don't ever forget this, because it will remain the same as somebody feeling uncomfortable. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It'll happen with two men getting together. Or, I don't feel comfortable with this embrace. Like, completely fine and acceptable. The other individual tap out maybe, you know what I mean, before there's even any prolonged touch. As it happens, the tap engages. Pay attention to that. Right. One other thing to pay attention to is the freeze response. The unreciprocated hug from the other party. When you hug onto them and they don't want that, you may engage with their freeze response, okay? They can't take flight, they can't run away, because that'd be too obvious. Social politeness ensures that they have to just sort of withstand the storm, per se, and they will just go either limp or stiff as their arms remain by their sides. They don't touch you, and you just sort of embrace them in the hug. This is a clear telltale sign that you've overstepped your boundary, and you shouldn't have done that, you know, unless you really are applying pressure, you know, out of nowhere, and you sort of read the signs and the clusters that make it make sense at that time. But if that person literally goes stiff, whereas they could have, you know, engaged with you in a positive manner, that's something for you to pay attention to. So that's a brief overview as to whether the hug and the embrace is symbolic of attraction, is correlated to attraction. First and foremost, over how long a span of time is she engaged with you or he engaged with you, and that's prior to any sort of tapping out. Once they tap out, it's over. Alright, once they relieve themselves of it, it's over. Pay attention to where the hips are. How close is the proximity of the hip? The hip doesn't necessarily have to be touching yours, but the closer they are. So let's say you're fully upright, okay? Your hip couldn't be just, you're not thrusting into them clearly, but you're standing upright, whereas they're arched back. All right, their bum is arched back. Their groin is away from yours. They've intentionally gone out of their way to distance that particular area of their body. Okay, that makes sense, right? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to how she holds you. Has she accentuated that femininity in relation to your masculinity to say, I want you to take me? Yeah, because as we've said, it's symbolic of the bedroom. A lot of these bodily contact non-verbal cues are symbolic of the things to come, because there's not much more room to go once you start touching each other freely, you know, with such confidence. Each to their own. I don't want you to sort of take that, you know what I mean, as a granted, but you know where I'm coming from, as long as it's allowed on both sides. And yeah, ensure that that individual hasn't reacted in a threat response, i.e. frozen up. Okay, you don't want that to be a thing whatsoever. If so, stop doing it, yeah? Back the hell off. And that's some game for you right there. I mean, that's basic principle for me. That's simple. So you let me know if that was worth your while, because I know, you know, some people don't know much, and that's completely fine. You know, we've done a catalogue on all of this material on the page. There's 2 links down in the description of the video. One will take you through to the catalogue of body language, and one will take you through to the Patreon, where you'll join me in watching real life dates, and I'll break down the attraction and repulsion cues so you can identify them in your real life. With that being said, I'm signing out, people. One love. Bye bye.